XYZ News Reports. The date is May 18th, 2015, and my name is Haley Fife.
And my name is Lena Lee. Tonight we have an exclusive report on the 2015 presidential campaign.
During this 30-minute special, we will be interviewing Democratic candidate Anthony Nguyen and Republican candidate Brooke Getachil.
We will also be hearing from some lobbyists and will have an inside look at that 2015 presidential debate.
We will also have an exclusive interview seconds after the candidates give their presidential speeches.
Same-sex marriage has become one of the most controversial issues of modern society. Proponents have argued that a relationship should bear no limitations, while others counter with the argument that same-sex marriage is immoral and goes against the morals found in the Bible.
Up first, we hear from lobbyist Amelia Cook about same-sex marriage.
Legalizing same-sex marriage is the next step for Americans in order to establish fair treatment and to all people in the aspects of marriage. In a groundbreaking case which legalized interracial marriage, Loving v. Virginia, the United States Supreme Court affirmed that marriage is a civil right of all humans. In other words, an American has the right to marry whomever they please, whether they are from the same religion, race, or political party. Shouldn't this apply for gender as well? Who are we to say that we cannot marry the person you love just because you are of the same gender? That freedom of personal choice in matters of marriage and family life is one of the liberties protected by the Due Process Clause. The Due Process Clause is used as a protection of various civil liberties and rights of Americans in many court cases. The government should not be allowed to interfere with Americans' ability to marry those who they love. Thus, legalizing same-sex marriage is essential. Americans need to realize that it's time to fully accept same-sex marriage. All in all, it is necessary for the legalization of same-sex marriage in America, and it is not only morally the right thing to do, but legally also.
That was interesting.
Now to hear from the Republican platform on same-sex marriage from lobbyist Vincent Grimaldi.
By same-sex marriage. Marriage from the beginning of time has been defined as being between a man and a woman, whether your view is religious or not. In the decision of Baker versus Nelson, the Supreme Court of Minnesota decided that the institution of marriage as a union of a man and woman uniquely involving the procreation and bearing of children within a family is as old as the book of Genesis. Allowing same-sex marriage now would undo uncountable years of history in our life and is not natural. Studies have shown that a child needs both a mother and a father. The children raised by parents of the same sex suffered more difficulties in life, such as sexual abuse or unemployment, than those with intact biological families. Same-sex marriage is immoral and unnatural. A 2003 set of guidelines that were signed by Pope John Paul II stated, "There are absolutely no grounds for considering homosexual unions to be in any way similar or even remotely analogous to God's plan for marriage and family. Marriage is holy, while homosexual acts go against the nature of law." This is just one example of how same-sex marriage is unnatural. Society has the choice to decide if same-sex marriage is all right, if same-sex marriage is right, just as they have the choice to decide that allowing someone to marry more than one partner is immoral, or marrying underage or marrying a relative is immoral. Declining same-sex marriage is not wrong or immoral, but same-sex marriage is. I hope that these arguments I've stated will help you in choosing what is right for our country.
Abortion remains to be a controversial topic to this day. Abortion laws have involved the right of women to decide for herself whether or not to end a pregnancy. However, the immorality of ending a life of an unborn fetus continues to be debated.
Speaking on behalf of pro-life lobbyists is Dean Song.
My speech on the atrocities of abortion, otherwise known as the con abortion. Abortion is something that you're ending a life early, and it's just not something that should honestly happen. You know what? Unborn child has rights. Life is a sacred and God-given gift. Life is protected also by our Constitution, so therefore, this unborn life should be protected by our government. There are also alternatives to abortion. One of the best ones is adoption. There are plenty of people in the world that can't have a child, so adoption gives them the chance to have a baby and a beautiful gift of life. Also, on my final note, it's killing our future. When a woman undergoes an abortion, they are killing future great Americans. Why are we denying these people, these unborn children, a chance at life?
Breaking news, a young couple has been found murdered on Whistler Way in Stockton. The murder count is now up to 482 this year.
Shocking.
Now back to the lobbyists.
Pro-choice lobbyist Mae Simpson speaks about the Democratic platform on the issue.
Presidential candidates, congressmen, I stand here before you today as a representative of women's rights. The rights to privacy, the rights to a good future, and the rights to pro-choice. And evidently, I'm not here in this endeavor alone. But for you Republicans out there who don't understand the definition of women's rights and privacy, let's break it down with a cost-benefit analysis with this presentation. Women aged 20 to 24 have the highest abortion rate of any age group. So in other words, they are young and probably not financially stable. How many U.S. women obtaining abortions are already mothers? 6 in 10 American women having an abortion already have a child, and more than 3 in 10 already have 2 or more children. So perhaps we can't afford more children. Conclusion, women who are in the workforce, women who are financially unstable, and women who have children already. Women denied abortion were 3 times as likely to end up below the federal poverty line 2 years later. So again, the child would not be adequately taken care of.
The recreational use of marijuana has also become a controversial issue. Although many people advocate the use of medical marijuana, opponents claim there are harmful effects that recreational marijuana can impose on an individual's body.
Pro-marijuana lobbyist Jenna Finney discusses the benefits of medical marijuana.
23 states have legalized the use of medical marijuana, and an additional 5 states have legalized the use of marijuana for recreational purposes. Despite this, since 1965, over 20 million Americans have been arrested for marijuana offenses. Marijuana is an organic substance that the average American can grow in their backyard, is safer than both tobacco and alcohol, and has proven to be beneficial for many diseases. There's no reason for marijuana charges to be putting Americans in jail when substances that cause millions of deaths each year are sold legally. Marijuana is much less addictive than other legal drugs such as nicotine, alcohol, prescription pain pills. In fact, many professors, when asked to rank the addictiveness of marijuana, ranked it as either the same as or less addictive than caffeine. Marijuana is used every day by thousands of people, and unlike substances like alcohol and nicotine, which cause tens of thousands of deaths every single year, has not caused a single death by overdose to date. Currently, legal drugs pose a much larger health risk than marijuana does. A 160-pound person would have to smoke roughly 900 joints in one sitting to reach a legal dose of marijuana. The policy is a tremendous waste of national and state criminal justice resources that should be focused on combating serious and violent crimes rather than marijuana crimes. If marijuana were to be legalized, the amount of money the government would earn in taxing the drug could sway even the most conservative of voters. American adults are guaranteed rights by the Constitution, and one of these rights is the choice of what we put in our bodies. If adults can choose to put potentially lethal substances like alcohol, nicotine, and prescription painkillers in their bodies, why are they not allowed the choice to use a relatively and comparatively harmless drug like marijuana? Marijuana is deemed by experts to be no more addictive than caffeine.
Presenting the views of anti-legalization of marijuana is lobbyist Evan Guerra.
Greeting presidential candidates and your staff. I stand before you today to brief you on the truth behind the drug that aims to bring down our youth, marijuana. Supporters of marijuana will boast and brag about its medicinal qualities while also stating that it's less harmful than the widely accepted and legal drugs of cigarettes and alcohol. The truth about marijuana is that it is only used to provide temporary relief to schizophrenia, multiple sclerosis, and eating disorders caused by AIDS and chemotherapy. If the legalization of marijuana goes through, either for recreational or medicinal use, those most impacted will be the youth of our great country. If kids see marijuana as a medicine or a medium for having a good time, they're more apt to dismiss its potential harms. It is our duty as responsible adults to provide them with the educational material on how dangerous marijuana can be and to protect them from harming both the future of this country and themselves. Those companies will bear painstaking resemblance to the big tobacco companies. If you look back to the early tobacco ads, you'll see many of them targeting children. That is because the goal of these types of companies is to create addicts. And the best way to create addicts is to target the children. In conclusion, I would like to ask you all here a question. Is it our job to promote drugs that get people high, or is it to promote medicines that help people with physical and mental illnesses? Thank you for your time, and God bless America.
After the break, we will take an inside look into the lives of the presidential candidates of 2015. We'll be right back.
Okay, Mom, I'm leaving. Mom? Mom? Mom, I'm leaving now.
Honey, what's wrong?
Anthony Nguyen is trying to legalize gay marriage in this country.
What? I don't want my tax laws going towards something I don't believe in.
Yes, it's right here. Legalizing gay marriage will lead to an end of domestic partnership benefits for all couples.
That's why I'm voting for Bearcat Get It Too.
Welcome back to the special report on XYZ News Reports. Up next, we'll be looking at the 2015 presidential candidates.
Democratic candidate Anthony Nguyen was born on July 4, 1989 in Stockton, California. He attended University of California, Davis for his undergraduate studies and University of California, San Francisco for his doctorate degree. After he earned his PhD, candidate Nguyen studied at Harvard Law School to achieve his law degree. Now, Nguyen is a lawyer, doctor, politician running as a Democratic candidate for presidency in 2015. Nguyen has a wife and 2 kids, his son Michelangelo and his daughter Elizabeth. In his spare time, Nguyen enjoys volunteering for his community, contributing to the Red Cross, Kiwanis Club of Stockton, North Stockton Rotary, Feeding America, Assistance of Veterans, and the Homeless Shelter Soup Kitchen. He also enjoys Tahitian Polynesian dancing, Vietnamese traditional line dancing, swing dancing, and coaching the National Speech and Debate Association.
Wow, is there anything he doesn't do?
Doesn't sound like it.
Republican candidate Brooke Getachew was born on April 13, 1979. He claims to have been born in Palo Alto, California, but his accent suggests differently. Getachew studied at University of California, Berkeley, and earned a degree in law. Now Getachew is a lawyer, businessman, CEO, running as a Republican candidate for presidency in 2015. Getachew has a wife, Ermani, and 2 children, son Johannes and daughter Adawa. In his spare time, Getachew enjoys reading, volunteering for his local community, and playing chess, soccer, tennis, and golf.
He sounds like a worthy candidate.
Up next, I'll be interviewing candidate Nguyen.
So what are your 3 core values and how do they shape how you lead?
My 3 core values are pro on 3 different issues. 1, marriage equality for same-sex couples. 2, abortion rights. And 3, the legalization of marijuana. For number 1, for marriage equality, I believe that all humans have the right to love and the right to express that love. See, up until about 10 years ago, same-sex marriage was illegal in every state within the United States. But today, more than 2/3 of all the states issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. It's a step towards the right direction. And I feel like all states should end up having marriage equality. All states should be able to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. And all couples, whether you are heterosexual, homosexual, or anything else, should have the right to love. Secondly, I believe in a woman's right to abortion because it's not only an issue of abortion, but it is an issue of privacy. And I believe that all humans should have the right to privacy. And abortion is a very moral choice, which has a lot of different circumstances. In that case, it should not be up to the government to decide whether a woman should have an abortion or not, but it should be rather up to the woman. She should be able to decide for herself and decide whether or not she wants to have that abortion. This doesn't mean, however, that everything should be decided either by the woman or the government, because I believe that there has to be a very thin line in between each thing. I believe that women up until the 3rd trimester, where the fetus is considered viable, in order to live on its own, if it was born prematurely. That's saying that the woman would have then the choice to have the abortion up until the 27th week of pregnancy. After that 27th week, the fetus, if it can survive on its own, should be able to have the right to live. At that point, I believe the better option would then be to have the fetus taken all the way to birth. At that point, adoption would be the better choice. And lastly, I believe in the legalization of marijuana. See, the main argument for this is the economic benefit that we'll get behind it. Because just like with the prohibition of alcohol, we've seen this fail in the past when we've tried to prohibit the sale of a commodity. Just like alcohol, if you cut out the supply of a commodity, it does not necessarily mean that the public's demand for it will also diminish. Therefore, if we legalize marijuana nationwide, we'll be able to cash in on the billion-dollar industry that we have now and billion-dollar commodity that's being sold. All of that can go into tax revenue, and all of that can help benefit the nation. With these 3 stances, I believe that I can help lead the nation in the right direction, a pro-direction, and make progress for the nation.
So what are your reasons for running for presidency?
Growing up, I witnessed a lot of strife, adversity, and poverty through my fellow citizens. It's through those reasons that I want to help give back to my community and help improve the condition and health of my home, community, state, and ultimately nation. These are the people that motivated me to run, and these are the people that I will help as President of the United States of America.
So what do you hope to be remembered as if you win the election?
Like all great presidents, Lincoln, Reagan, FDR, or Clinton, I truly believe that these presidents have made a lasting impact on our nation. And I want to be one of those people. I want to make an impact for all of my citizens. And I want to improve the lives of every single one of the Americans.
Thank you so much for your time, Candidate Nguyen, and good luck in the election.
Thank you so much for having me.
Candidate Nguyen presents very convincing arguments that embody the democratic ideals.
Wow, it's getting hot in here. So let's look at this week's forecast.
My last name is way too long, so here's your weather forecast for this week. Now on Monday, we will be having a very hot day at 95 degrees. And on Tuesday, we will be having a fresher day at 42 degrees with a chance of rainfall and strong thunderstorms. Now on Wednesday, we will be having a hotter day at 116 degrees, and it will be very sunny, so we recommend you use protection. And on Thursday, we will be having a very colder day at negative 22 degrees. We will be having strong snowfall. And on Friday, we will be having an extremely hot day at 201 degrees. Now there may be a chance of wildfire, so we recommend you do not leave your house. And that was your weather forecast. So now back at the studio.
Thanks, Susie, whose last name is way too long.
And now let's look at candidate Getatu's special interview.
So what are your 3 core values, and how do they shape how you lead?
Well, one of my core values is family values. I believe marriage should be between a man and a woman, but I am open to a debate on the meaning of marriage. Well, another one of my core values is personal responsibility. I believe in general people are responsible enough to make their own decisions. Hopefully they will make smart decisions, but if they need to, they should face the consequences of their actions. On marijuana, I believe that it should not be legalized for recreational use and only for medical use. Another one of my values is personal responsibility. On abortion, I believe that everyone is responsible enough to make their own decisions, and if need be, face the consequences of their actions. When a woman makes a decision on an abortion, I hope that she considers both what is best for her and what is best for the unborn child inside of her.
So what are your reasons for running for presidency?
Well, I believe that this country needs a principled and pragmatic leader that can make the choices that this country needs to make in a responsible way.
So what do you hope to be remembered as if you win this election?
I hope to be remembered as a visionary who could make choices that would lead to a more confident future for all Americans.
Thank you so much for volunteering your time, and good luck in the election.
Thank you for having me.
Candidate Getachew presents very convincing points as well. The race between these two candidates should be a close and exciting one.
Thanks, Haley. There has been much controversy about the new iPhone 129. The new iPhone can completely bend in half without breaking. Many believe this is a conspiracy to overthrow the government.
How about that, Lena? Back to the presidential race of 2015. We are now going to hear from both candidates in the presidential debate.
Should be able, and I propose legislation, in order to speed up the process that immigrants are allowed U.S. citizenship. Because right now, people are spending up to about 8 years to 27 years to 37 years just to get like a U.S. citizenship. 8 years if you're even lucky. With the amount of people that we have like immigrating to the United States, I believe that we should not do away with should not do away with immigration completely. We should not allow just illegal immigrants to become U.S. citizens, but we should rather speed up the process.
I believe that it is best to emphasize border enforcement first, so that illegal immigrants cannot come into the country and already add to a growing dilemma over whether people with families and children and ties to this country yet have came here illegally should be afforded citizenship. And that's all I have to say on the matter.
Welfare Democratic Party does support welfare because we support the ideal that all Americans should have the right in order to reach for the American dream. We all should have the right in order to go for our dreams and have opportunity. This is a land of opportunity, and therefore we should help all people, not only the privileged and the ones born into wealth, achieve greatness.
It should be done with an emphasis on job training programs and measures that would help people find jobs as soon as possible.
The Democratic Party strongly opposes, strongly favors gun control. Not opposed. I apologize. But still, there is no reason that we should be able to take AK-47s, like in Texas right now, into supermarkets just to buy baby powder. I know you all have this freedom of speech. However, you should not have a need to buy fully automatic AK-47s, miniguns, giant pump action shotguns, unless it's for home defense. We should have regulations on this instead, so that we can start registering guns. We know where they are, and at the same time, we can also lessen the amount of people that will really want to get guns. They cannot all simply go out and find an unregistered gun. However, if we do find a gun and a crime is committed, we have a link back to the perpetrator, or we have a link back to the person who owns that weapon.
Yeah, gun control, like welfare, has a noble intent to reduce the harm caused by automatic weapons, military-grade weapons, what have you, and to reduce the deaths from gun violence each year. I believe that a universal background check and measures to regulate the types of ammunition that can be purchased should suffice in terms of gun control. And we should not let this need to regulate turn into a slippery slope that will infringe on our constitutional rights to bear arms.
I would like to point out one part of your platform or your speech that you gave. You stated that in your abortion case that the Declaration or the U.S. Constitution states that all have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, correct?
Yes.
And this is for the abortion case, correct?
Yes.
Cannot the same argument also be made for same-sex marriage, where all individuals also have the right to same-sex marriage and the right to happiness through marriage?
Interesting point you make. I would have to say that on this point, while it does appear that it would be in favor of same-sex marriage, there is also a constitutional point here that since marriage is not mentioned in the Constitution specifically, it should be under the category of powers reserved to the states, and allowing the government to force a state to allow same-sex marriage would infringe on their right to decide for themselves.
That was an intense debate. We'll look at the presidential speeches right after this short break.
Hello everybody, today we're presenting our thick and thin pens. Now these pens are invisible. Now let's head on over here for a demonstration. Now here we have a nice Sharpie pen. I'm sure you have all heard of this. Now here's a demonstration. Now you see this fine Sharpie pen. And now let's head over to the thick and thin pens. Now look as I stroke. Invisible! Isn't that magic? Now, these pens will be here for $29.99. But you know, not only $29.99, 4 payments of $29.99. And call now, and you will receive 2 more packages completely free of charge.
Now let's take a look at Democratic candidate Nguyen's presidential speech.
My fellow Americans, my name is Anthony Nguyen, and as the Democratic presidential candidate, I hope to represent the people in the White House. As a Democrat, I favor marriage equality, reproductive rights, and marijuana legalization. Love is universal, human, and inescapable, but love has taken a very long time to blossom here. Up until about 10 years ago, same-sex marriage was illegal in every state. Today, more than 2/3 of states issue marriage licenses to gay couples. In office, I will lobby for the repeal of the Anti-Gay Defense of Marriage Act, if the Supreme Court doesn't beat me to it first. That's right, even the Supreme Court is interested in same-sex marriage, and they've already appealed it, twice. And that's because marriage isn't a heterosexual or Christian privilege, it's a human right. It's an American right protected by the Due Process and Equal Protection Clauses of the 5th and 14th Amendments. Marriage is as an institution, does not pertain solely to procreation or religion. It pertains to love. Atheists, the infertile, and yes, gays and lesbians wish to marry their partners to validate their love in the same way heterosexuals do. So what's wrong with that? And if I'm not mistaken, church and state are meant to be separate entities in America, so the Bible cannot be used to justify bans on same-sex marriage. If one wishes to appropriately defend bans on same-sex marriage, he or she must provide secular reasoning and legitimate evidence that allowing same-sex marriage would cause irreparable harm to society. That is the bottom line. And conservatives can't do that because same-sex marriage does not harm society. But regulating gays to second-class citizenship does harm society. I'm asking for your support because only united can we ensure that true love conquers all. Now, abortion. Heavy, I know, and at least a bad taste in the mouth. But strictly speaking, the Supreme Court's 1973 ruling in Roe v. Wade affirms that the decision to terminate a pregnancy is a private one between a mother and her doctor. This really is a medical question rather than a political one, but seeing as this has long been one, I'm obligated to take a stance. I respect each woman's right to make this decision about her pregnancy during the period prior to the 27th week, the third trimester of pregnancy, at which point the fetus is viable and therefore capable of surviving outside the womb. And this is because at this point, the fetus can survive without her mother, and the state has a compelling interest in protecting that life. But until that time, abortion should be left at the discretion of the woman. And now marijuana, it isn't new, nor is prohibition. Marijuana is far healthier and safer than alcohol, as prohibition has been a complete failure as alcohol's was. Now, neither ban did the work of eliminating demand for intoxicants. So long as a good demand for a good exists, there will be a supply. Now, both prohibitions spawned organized crime, made criminals of nonviolent taxpayers, and wasted colossal sums of money. However, if we legalize and regulate marijuana, we can bring it out of the black market and take control away from drug lords, stop persecuting hardworking Americans unfairly taken from their families and children, and raise billions of dollars in sales and taxes. According to psychopharmacologist and psychiatrist Julie Holland's The Pot Book, the marijuana industry is estimated at the value of at least $100 billion US. So given that this is such a large industry, I propose sin taxes proportional to the current taxes levied against alcohol and tobacco. Also, I propose allowing marijuana to be sold in stores as a commodity, like alcohol and tobacco are currently, and mandating that it only be sold to persons over the age of 21 who present a legal ID. As I stated previously, marijuana is safer than alcohol. Holland reports in her book that marijuana has been shown to hinder the growth of cancerous tumors, reduce nausea and pain in cancer chemotherapy patients, treat and reduce muscular cramping and seizures in multiple sclerosis sufferers, and reduce osmotic pressure on the eyes so that glaucoma sufferers do not go blind. With the aforementioned regulations, legalizing marijuana would raise revenue for the government, check organized crime, prevent non-violent marijuana users from spending years in prison apart from their families and children, while allowing doctors to treat their patients as best they can. America, only together can we make progress in this great nation. Thank you for your time.
Now headed to Haley, who is live outside the election headquarters, waiting to interview the candidates once they give their speech.
Thanks, Lena. I'm out here outside of election headquarters waiting as candidate Noonan gives his presidential speech. Candidate Noonan, how do you feel?
I feel good. Oh, I feel so good. I feel fine all of the time. A booga, a booga, a booga, booga, booga. Woo!
Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Now let's turn over to the opposing side and take a look at Republican candidate Getachu's presidential speech.
My name is Brooke Getachew, and I'm your Republican candidate for president. Our country is facing unprecedented challenges today, and I believe as we tackle these pressing issues, we remember our values. Our forefathers believed that integrity, personal responsibility, and moral clarity were the foundations of a free society. All too often, these core values of our nation have been compromised, but I'm here to guarantee that those values, which are so central to our nation's identity, will be protected. Three issues have dominated this election: same-sex marriage, abortion, and marijuana. My views on these issues are as follows. The issue of marijuana is a complex one, but my views are clear. I strongly oppose recreational marijuana since prolonged use has clear health risks less than, but similar to, those of alcohol and tobacco. Unfortunately, a marijuana industry free of vital regulation will disregard our health and safety just like the tobacco companies have, and are even now misleading policymakers, regulators, and the American public on the hazard of their products. However, I do acknowledge that there are many medicinal benefits that marijuana provides. I want to clarify that I do not support the use of the marijuana plant itself as medicine. Rather, it is best to use its components to make life-saving medications. Undoubtedly, more scientific research is needed by the public and private sectors and will be supported under my administration. With regards to same-sex marriage, I have a hands-off policy. Under federal law, the states are obligated to respect each other's policies on same-sex marriage. The federal government cannot force states that have not chosen to allow it to legalize it. Instead, the issue should be settled through an open debate with earnest intent on both sides. I condemn abortion because it contradicts what is said in our Declaration of Independence, that all are created equal, endowed with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Abortion takes away the life of an unborn child, far too often for the reason of being an inconvenience. But I believe children are a blessing. If a woman is not ready or not wanting to have a child, for financial or other reasons, then it's always possible to put up the child for adoption. My party has always supported adoptive parents, and I will also do so. Of course, it's understandable that a woman would want to terminate a pregnancy if it puts her or her child at risk. But do not think that I am against a woman's right to choose. I support it, but abortion is a last resort method to prevent pregnancy, and there are longer acting and more effective birth control methods than abortion. I would support these methods instead. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. I want you all to know that whatever your choices today, I'm grateful for the opportunity to run for office.
I'm still here outside election headquarters where candidate Getachew is currently giving his presidential speech. Candidate Getachew, how do you feel?
I feel confident, very confident. And that's all I have to say. It's up to the voters now.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
The votes are in, and the winner is... We'll reveal the results right after this commercial break.
Hello everybody, today we're presenting our new car. It's a 2007 black Honda Civic. Now we can see that there are a few details, few scratches, minor, very minor scratches. Now you can get this car for just one payment of $8,000 or in a series of payments but with an interest rate of 25%. With the down payment of only 50%. For your test drive.
Hi, I'm Anthony. I am shooting the targets for my presidential election. I believe that everyone has the right to free and love someone. That's why I support same-sex marriage, and so does the 14th Amendment. So why don't you? Now regarding abortion, it's a tricky business. But I respect each woman's pro-choice right to abortion, because it's not only a choice of abortion, it's the issue of privacy.
Finally, marijuana. What can I say more? Young, wild, and free. Smoke a joint. Raise some taxes. Come on, America. Let's go green. Let's go. Support the D. Vote for Anthony.
And the winner is Democratic candidate Anthony Nguyen.
Congratulations, Mr. Nguyen. That's it for tonight's edition of XYZ News Reports. We'll see you next time.
Good night. And the winner is Republican candidate Brooke Getachew.
Congratulations, Mr. Getachew. That's it for tonight's edition of XYZ News Report. We'll see you next time.
Good night.